In Sahih Bukhari 5186, we are reminded of the Prophet's, peace be upon him, profound advice to treat women with care, likening their creation to a rib, with its most curved part being at the top. Attempting to forcefully straighten it may lead to breakage, while neglecting it means it remains crooked. This emphasizes the importance of understanding, gentleness, and wisdom in our interactions. Yet, it's also important to acknowledge the hadith that mentions that even with such care, wives may sometimes exhibit dissatisfaction and might overlook numerous acts of kindness for a single perceived wrong, as indicated in the hadith about the majority in paradise being the poor and the majority in hellfire being women, Bukhari 5196. Society and Islam, a personal reflection. Individuals interested in understanding Islamic perspectives on women and those navigating modern relationship dynamics. Overall tone: thoughtful, reflective, sincere, and respectful. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is MHS, and in this video, I want to share some personal reflections on the perspectives surrounding women in our modern society and how they relate to the teachings of Islam. Transition to AI-generated character, MHS, speaking directly to the camera. Over the past few days, I've been contemplating the current psychological landscape concerning women in our world. It's a topic I believe is vital for all of us to consider, especially men, as we navigate our interactions and relationships. I've observed that sometimes, in the realm of emotions, men can falter and act disrespectfully. It appears there's a nuanced balance in how we value and appreciate women. For instance, I recall a situation where I might have used excessive praise, perhaps even words not entirely truthful. In our tradition, there are instances where a degree of flexibility in speech is mentioned, such as to please one's spouse, as referenced in Tirmidhi, 1939. And I did notice an immediate positive response. However, this led me to reflect on my own intentions and the potential implications of such actions. I sought Allah's forgiveness for any arrogance, realizing that true mindfulness of Him should guide me away from what is not right. I've come to understand that merely citing references isn't the core of knowledge. Astaghfirullah. Instead, I find solace in striving to let go of unnecessary thoughts and focusing on contentment. When I am at peace, I believe I can contribute my best in all aspects of life. I am grateful for those who bring happiness into my life. Recently, a significant point became apparent to me regarding societal interactions. It seems that in modern society, there's often a dynamic where attention is sought. Paradoxically, it appears that when one focuses on their own value and perhaps doesn't overtly seek to please, it can sometimes lead to more attention in return. I reiterate, there can be a perception that prioritizing oneself can influence how one is perceived. And perhaps crucially, displaying neediness might be misinterpreted as a lack of strength, potentially affecting respect. There can be a perception of inherent self-interest in these dynamics. Now, when we turn our attention to the teachings of Islam, we often find perspectives that are quite distinct. Visual, respectful imagery related to family and relationships in Islam. In Sahih Bukhari 5186, we are reminded of the Prophet's, peace be upon him, profound advice to treat women with care, likening their creation to a rib, with its most curved part being at the top. Attempting to forcefully straighten it may lead to breakage, while neglecting it means it remains crooked. This emphasizes the importance of understanding, gentleness, and wisdom in our interactions. Yet, it's also important to acknowledge the hadith that mentions that even with such care, wives may sometimes exhibit dissatisfaction and might overlook numerous acts of kindness for a single perceived wrong, as indicated in the hadith about the majority in paradise being the poor and the majority in hellfire being women, Bukhari 5196. Furthermore, earlier in Bukhari, hadith 5096, it is stated that there is no greater trial left for men than women. And in Sahih Muslim 2742, the Prophet, peace be upon him, cautioned us against the allure of women, noting that the first trial for the people of Israel was through women. Human nature and Islamic guidance. Gentle imagery representing the story of Adam and Eve as, and perhaps symbolic representations of marital bonds. Reflecting on this, consider that in Jannah, Adam, peace be upon him, experienced longing for a companion. It's perhaps not surprising then that this remains a significant aspect of our human experience in this world. Even find accounts where the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, during times of battle expressed a desire to be free from marital desires due to their separation from their wives, leading the Prophet, peace be upon him, to permit temporary marriage under specific circumstances, as mentioned in Bukhari, 5075, and Muslim, 1404. This highlights the natural human inclination and the Islamic framework for addressing it. There's also the well-known incident where the Prophet, peace be upon him, upon seeing a woman, went to his wife Zainab, may Allah be pleased with her, and engaged in intimacy, Muslim 1403. This suggests that when natural desires arise, the Islamic guidance is to seek their lawful fulfillment within marriage, rather than simply suppressing them. Moreover, the Prophet, peace be upon him, even advised against newly married men who hadn't yet consummated their marriage from participating in jihad, Bukhari 5157, underscoring the significance of marital relations. Visual images of the Quran and Sunnah, perhaps a beautifully opened Quran. These are just a few references, and numerous respected Islamic scholars, such as Dr. Muhammad Salah, Sheikh Asim Al-Hakim, and Dr. Zakir Naik, have offered similar insights based on the Quran and Sunnah. I encourage you to explore their work and verify these references for a deeper understanding. Ultimately, the Holy Quran provides profound guidance. In Surah Al-Aram 30:21 says, "And among his signs is this, that he created for you mates from among yourselves, that ye may dwell in tranquility with them, and he has put love and mercy between your hearts. Verily in that are signs for those who reflect." As scholars like Norman Ali Khan have elucidated, the fundamental purpose of marriage in Islam is to attain peace and tranquility. Love, in its true form, will blossom within this framework, bestowed by Allah. However, contemporary societal influences can sometimes lead individuals to prioritize a romanticized notion of love before peace, which can contradict this divine wisdom and potentially lead to discord. Similarly, engaging in premarital interactions with the intention of getting to know someone for marriage often deviates from Islamic principles. True believers prioritize the pleasure of Allah above all else. They don't let fleeting desires overshadow His commands and the teachings of His Messenger, peace be upon him. When they receive guidance from the Quran and Sunnah, their response is, "We hear and we obey." For believing women, there is a beautiful hadith narrated in Bayhaqi's Shu'abul Iman, 8732, where the Prophet, peace be upon him, described the women of paradise with qualities of deep affection, frequent childbearing, and a beautiful way of seeking reconciliation with their husbands after disagreements, prioritizing their husband's contentment. And in Sahihul Jami, 3360, the Prophet, peace be upon him, described the best wife with attributes of deep love, frequent childbearing, agreement with her husband in what is right, and being a source of hope and remembrance of Allah in challenging times. These are some of the reflections I wanted to share with you. May Allah grant us all understanding and guide us to live according to His wisdom. Jazakum Allahu khairan for your time.